So the voyage continues, again using our theme from this catalog, and we did it because we have so many dolls that have these wonderful trousseaus, and also in a much more kind of, I don't know, philosophical, sentimental, whatever type of mood. To me, the voyage of the doll continues because the doll is history, and the doll carries with it its own particular story. And when we find dolls with objects that they own, that they have owned for a century, 100 or more years, in this case going on to probably 150 years, a century and a half. To find them like this has been the journey of their life. In this trunk, this doll with her clothes, with her accessories, and this is what a joy and a privilege for anyone to own this. We have about 6 of these dolls in this particular auction that we've entitled The Voyage Continues. And okay, I'm going to just say I'm allowed to have a favorite, and this one is my favorite. It's my favorite for several reasons. I love her costumes. I love her face. I love the fact that she was made by Leontine Romer, who is one of the prestige Poupée makers of the time, and that she was made especially for the luxury Paris shop of Simone. She has on her body the stamp of the Simone shop, indicating that they commissioned the doll and that they were proud of it. They put their label on it. She has the very distinctive the very distinctive hooray body with the type of stuffing they had, with the jointing at the knees, with these beautiful bisque lower hands. Now, look at her costumes, and let's just take a minute and have fun. I love the costume that she's wearing. Let's pull her front and center here so you can see that. And I can turn it around and you can see her. It is a skirt with an overskirt. Contrasting colors that work beautifully together with the same black velvet trim, and that are all kind of pulled together by the beautiful ribbon bows on her collars and on the back sash, and on this wonderful coronet that she wears on her hair with the silk flower enhancement on it. Very, very distinctive costume, very stylized of the time. If you actually saw her body, you'd realize she's not a hardy girl like this. She's kind of slender, but very, very beautiful. Now I'm going to put her away because I want you to be able to see the costumes that come with her. All original, all of the period, and so outstanding. Mauve, one of my favorite colors from that period, from that 1860 period, that was such a dominant color, and this is a very, very beautiful gown that she has from that time period, perfectly preserved. The gowns from that time period are very simple in looking at them. You don't have a lot of added frou-frous, but if you ever study the construction of them, you can see how the construction gave them their shape and gave them a form of luxury that was wonderful. This is a very beautiful brown taffeta silk, and it has the black velvet bows on the top, a beautiful contrast. And she had, I'm going to show you a lot of her accessories, but this is one hat that she has. And I'm sure this hat was designed to be worn with this because, again, we have the contrast of the very rich, rich brown and then the underbody of the brown silk and then the black lace trim. So a very beautiful bonnet, again, perfectly preserved to match this dress. Another gorgeous dress, which probably could have worn that same bonnet, is this one with the faux suspenders on the side with the little undersleeves, the little Sue suspender collars. Look at the little pocket. Is that precious? This is a wonderful fabric as well. I never know the name of this fabric, like a tussa silk, but very, very crisp. It's just wonderful. And turn it around and you can see the little flounce in the back with double box pleats. Again, little simple things that when you look at the dress, it seems like it's so simple, but then you start to study the construction, and in the front, you do not have the double box pleats. You have the single, which gives her a slimmer look in the front. This white dress is so stunning, and I know white is so hard to really see in the camera, so I hope you're able to pick it up, of a beautiful dotted Swiss fabric. In French, they call it petit pois, little peas, which I think is Probably a nicer name than dotted Swiss. And double tiered, tiers wrapping around the top of it and tying in the back. And then look at the possibilities of what could be worn with this dress. And by the way, please notice even the sash has a scalloped edging like the tiers do. Every little detail was thought of. We have this beautiful parasol, the pale blue parasol. We have a wonderful bonnet with the blue streamers. I'm showing you the inside as well. And then we have, actually I'm going to show you a couple others too. And here's, I love these kind of caps. Look at that cap with the streamers coming down, known as brides or bridles, which is what a horse has, but that was a name on a fashion as well, bridles. And then this beautiful, look at this pink silk gown. Is that stunning? With 1, 2, 3 rows of silk fringe edging the upper tier. Beautifully fitted sleeves, wonderful, wonderful dress. And to go with it, we have, look at this hat. Is that gorgeous? Would sit very jauntily on her head. Here, I have it backwards. Let me turn it. And this is the inside. Do I have another bonnet here? No, no. So now I'm going to show you some other things. Okay, here's a trunk she came with, a beautiful canvas-covered trunk with the name of the original trunk maker on it, which I think is great to have, and layers upon layers in here of accessories and leather purses and hoops and more stockings and the chemisette. And here's another fashion idea. Bring this back. Okay. In the 1950s, they brought this back, too. We called it a dickie at that time. They called it in France a chemisette. And look what it is. What a great fashion idea. You put the, instead of having a full blouse under your sweater, you have this little chemisette. And then you have the collar. Well, think of how much easier that was to wash. Now, maybe we don't care about that today because we don't iron anything. But then, everything had to be washed by hand and then ironed by hand. And so this little chemisette was a great, great idea. She has the sous sleeves, the undersleeves. She has a cape. She has lots of undergarment. One other great dress, and then let me show you some of these accessories. Okay, we have the blanket wrapped in its leather straps. We have, look at these wonderful little red shoes. I'm going to put them down here so the camera can pick them up. And with it, in case you're matching your ensemble, your little purse that would loop over the belt, and a wonderful snood. Oh, I love this one. This was like a little beaded, not really a snood, it's a little beaded cap that would fit over her head, and it's woven with little black bead trim and then little dangling beads at the end. So a wonderful look. And I have baskets, and I have books, and I have brushes, and I have wonderful little boxes. Now that's only one box of accessories. Here's another wonderful little straw bonnet. Perfect condition. I mean, these things are in absolutely fabulous condition. And a black silk parasol with a bone handle. Put that down here so you can keep looking at them. And then let me show you what else. Oh, look at here is a wonderful snood. These don't show like anything when you're looking at them now, but when you see them on a doll and they hold the doll's hair in place, wow, that's just a great bonus. And then we just have so many other wonderful things. I'm just going to show you some more that we have. Here's a beautiful little blue bonnet with a little bow on the front. This bonnet, I should have showed you this one to go with a pink dress, which it matches perfectly. And this is, I'm going to show you the inside here, and then I'm going to show you the outside, which is so intricate with the feathers, with the lattice work of black velvet on the top, and silk ribbons. It's just a gorgeous bonnet. And we have another beautiful bonnet here, delicately woven bonnet. What a lucky child owned this to have. Her little sewing basket. This wonderful pair of black shoes. And I have another snood, and I have another purse, and I have another mirror, and I have so many things. I think this is such an extraordinary doll. It's not only the beauty of the doll, it's not only the fact that it was made by one of my favorite French doll makers, Leontine Romer, not only the fact that it has a Simone label of the luxury shop, but these pieces in this trunk and these accessories, and they're all in such gorgeous condition. I hope her voyage continues to a home who will love her as she has been loved. Another wonderful doll whose journey will continue this January when she appears at auction. This is a doll whose signature tells us that she was by Doliac, a French doll maker who shows up very, very seldom. We find few dolls by them, but the markings on it indicate that that's who it is, Doliac. I have gone back and looked at other models by Doliac we've had, and what's really interesting to me is that every single one has this exact same face. So whereas we tend to think that Poupées were by and large, were generic, heads being purchased from porcelain doll makers and then made by that doll maker who purchased it with their body and with their costumes and sold by them as their doll. But Doliac perhaps did not make the porcelain face, but he had his own mold, and this very distinctive face is from Doliac only. This doll is wearing a beautiful wedding gown of sorts. It could be a wedding gown, it could simply be just a very, very beautiful gown, and having her original lace coif. Now originally, all of her hair would have been tucked up inside this coif, so it wouldn't be showing at all, and then you'd have a few tendrils at the front, and you would have these lace ruffles at the front. And I'll just be talking about the dolls, and we'll be showing different pieces of the costumes. The dolls come with lots and lots and lots of undergarments, and two especially beautiful dresses that I really love, that are all original, beautifully made, and wonderful style of the period. And this very, very pale pink one with the appliques of flowers and lace is quite stunning. And then the other one is more of a fitted, almost a walking dress to go out in the park with the children, and very, very beautiful overskirt of patterned flowers, and then probably a rose at the time, now more like a faded rose, like so many of us. And she has wonderful accessories as well. Not only the undergarment, she has coats, she has hats, she has lots of hats, she has blouses, she has accessories, she has another gown here. She has even her papeterie in case she wanted to write a letter back to someone. A very early example of the Poupée papeterie, the leather one, and two more beautiful bonnets down here. A gorgeous doll waiting to have her journey continued to live with someone new. Came all the way from France to live with you. I want to share one more of the Poupées with Trousseaus coming from our upcoming auction. The journey continues, and this girl indeed has had a long and beautiful journey. There are about 6 other dolls with Trousseaus in that auction and in that book, so if you're not able to attend the auction, I hope you'll purchase the book so you'll be able to see all of these great dolls, because they're becoming so terribly rare, and we're so fortunate to have these to offer to you at one time. This is another one of my favorites, and I love her because I do love the early porcelain Poupées. It's, number one, an indication of their early age, and number two, they have a very, very special quality to me. This one has her wonderful original costume and her trunk with so many accessories, and we have her provenance. She came from an original owner, and she has been in the hands of one collector since that time for about the past 15 years, but other than that, she did come from the original owner. The large doll was named by its original owner, Henrietta, and the smaller doll was named by the original owner, Antoinette. And so the little doll, even the doll had her own little doll. They grew up in the Poissy region of France, and that's where they lived for all of the many years until 15 years ago when they passed into the hands of a very privileged and lucky collector who is now parting with her collection. And here we have this lovely doll, Henrietta, wearing her wonderful walking suit, the dress underneath with, again, the double box pleats, the long flared coat which reaches to the ground, and with the original edging on it, the pink scalloped edging. I want to turn it around So you're able to, again, look at the back of her bonnet. I love this bonnet. It's all very, very thickly woven and has lace trim and silk interwoven ribbons. Very, very fine. And layers of undergarments on her. Now the girl also owns, very, very privileged, she owns 3, 4 additional costumes, very, very different styles, and multi-layered. In this case, for example, the beautifully fitted dress has its own matching walking cape. Scottish plaids were very, very popular at the time, an influence of Queen Victoria, who was quite respected and loved in France by some people. Now, we have so many accessories for this, so I do want to point them out to you. Look at the bonnets. I'm going to put them here on the table, and you're able to see each of them. And I wish every one of you could have the privilege of holding these. And they just keep coming, one right after another. Gorgeous, gorgeous bonnets. We have another beautiful cape, a jacket cape. We have a wonderful, look at this robe, this hooded robe for summer wear. Beautiful with the little tassels on it. Here's another bonnet. I'm going to put it down in front so we can sweep across all of those bonnets and see. Look at the tasseled, black tasseled cape of royal, lustrous purple. And lots of underwear. Another beautiful gown. And now I'm going to put the accessories out so you can see them. An ivory parasol. A brown silk parasol. Her basket. I'm going to just keep adding to them. A beautiful little silver chain link purse. This, I love this particular one. Look at that. With the tasseled ties and the beautiful silk tassels at the bottom. Beautiful weaving on that. Just extraordinary. She has a fan. She has a leather case with a little faux clock face on it. She has her mass book. She has a leather purse. She has a perfume bottle. And she even has her needlework, which is absolutely extraordinary. I wish her name was on it. Unfortunately, it isn't. But it is the needlework that the little girl did who owned the doll. And she kept it with the doll all of these years. So another beautiful example of a trousseau from France, 1860 period. And her name again is Henrietta, and our little girl is named Antoinette. And while we're talking about needlework, let me show you this. I have had 4 of these maybe over the years, and every time I find them, my heart stops, because if you like needlework, if you like any type of handiwork or sewing or fine embroideries that were done in the 1800s, these are unbelievable treasures. Just as people were learning to do, usually boys, learning to become cabinet makers, and they would make their matrice model pieces of furniture to show they had reached a high level of performance in their work, so young girls were taught to do needlework. And one of the ways they had to prove their superior skill at needlework was they produced these treasure boxes of sample cards. And I have had some where actually the person's name and their history is in the box. I have had some where they were done in convents by the nuns to work with the young girls to teach them how to do the sewing. And then I have had others that are mysterious, but you know they were done by one person and showing their skill at various needlework. So look, let's just open this lid. This is what it looks like, a simple, firmly supported box with this mahogany colored paper on the outside. And you open it up and you find this multi-tiered arrangement inside, and you find them with a group of cards, all of the cards in different colors and different papers and edged with fine work, and then having samples of workmanship on them. And I want to show you this one first. We're only going to, there's 26 cards in here. I just want to show you a couple samples. I think these are absolute treasures. And this is a wonderful example because look at the little purse, the sock-shaped purse. So the person who little girl was learning how to knit a sock. She was learning how to form it to the purse, to make a little purse. So many wonderful details. Here's a little miniature hanging basket that would appear in parlors at the time, where people put letters and notes and things like that. And on here we have a ribbon tie, and look, a clue to the original little person who made the doll, who made all of these pieces. So I actually, being the optimist that I am, I did go on the internet and try to find this person's name, and I couldn't find them. But this is something for someone to buy and to find out who made this originally, who this person was. Who was Emma Crepey? Who was she? Let me just show you a few more things. Sometimes they have a label on the top that will tell what they were trying to achieve. And here we have embroidery, we have cut work. Look at the different types of needlework that were done. The beading, I don't know all of the names of these embroideries. Some of you will, and you could do this better than I could, but you couldn't love it any more than I do, I know that. This one is showing a sachet and a collar, according to the description card on top. And here's a little chemisette again, little miniature one made. And here is an example of crochet work of a stocking, beautifully loosely woven stocking. And they even put a little blue bow on the top to accentuate the details. 3 more examples. Sorry, this one is falling off the card. This one is a little black velvet purse, a little woven cap, and then a little, like a table mat. Very beautiful piece. 26 of these cards. Here's one on soft rose, and this is saying a sac de nuit. So this was a little crocheted sack in which people would, during the day, they would put their night clothes. And very, very beautifully done, silk lined and all hand woven. And on this side is couture rabattée, and I don't know what that is, but I suspect it's a form of mending that was done. So really very, very fine. If you study needlework, if you love these kind of pieces, let me just spread a few more out. We'll let the camera rush over them, and you can see oh, look at this one. I have to show you this, chemise de femme. Chemise de femme. Look at the embroidery on this one. I hope the camera can pick these up if they're lying flat. That's the board. I'm trying to reach backwards here. Here's more. Here's another one. This is couture and sujette, and I don't know what that means, except it might be the edging. But look at that beautiful fabric. Oh, look at the man's shirt. And here we have a sampler with the alphabet, and then all of the different ways of attaching snaps and pins. Just wonderful pieces. So there it is. I hope you enjoyed these as much as I do. I think they are absolute historic treasures. While it is so seldom that dolls can be found with a complete original trousseau, it's even a great privilege to find these beautiful poupées. These are from the 1860s and 1870s that do have their original costumes of the period. And I wanted you to see this group as a group because I wanted you to see colors that were very, very particular. We're seeing the ice blues, we're seeing the corals, we're seeing the colors on the traditional folklore costumes, the combinations of the reds and creams and greens. And we're starting to see the introduction of the exotic costumes. This is a wonderful group to show you the wide variety of poupées that were made during this 1860 and 1870 period. I wanted to point out this one in particular because we have so many wonderful features about her that need to be explored. And she is an early doll by Leontine Romer. We talked about Romer before with the trousseaus. This is another doll by Romer who did things like make these wonderful porcelain arms that went above the elbows, and you'll see several of dolls like that coming up here. What was great about these was it was an indication of the time period that the costumes that we're going to accommodate to the costumes. For example, look at this sleeve. If you only had porcelain arms from the mid-lower arm, you have all of this extra kid showing up here, and that wouldn't work with these short sleeve costumes. So wonderful designs of dolls designed to match the costume. Now this costume is incredible for a really important reason other than its absolute beauty and luxury of production. Again, the white piqué and the soutache trim, and how wonderful is that? I'll tell you something else that's wonderful. These colors ran. So to find one that is so perfectly preserved that it had never had to have been washed, it's still just fabulous, that's really, really rare. Strong, vibrant, rich soutache embroidery on the white piqué. Now, the thing about that gown, it has the original name of the couturière on the waistband, Maria Luce, who worked in Paris during this time period, 1860. She on and off would work for various of the important doll makers like Heuret and like Romer, but also had her own shop and sold items. So this doll, you're not only having a fabulous doll by Leontine Romer, an early example, original wig, perfect body, but you are having a fabulous couturière costume signed by the maker. Wonderful. Now, I'm showing you a wide spectrum of poupées that are all presented in that auction, and we'll just keep fanning back and forth across them, and I'll talk about a few things. One of the things that impacted so much on doll making, on many other parts of life too, but we're talking about doll making now, were the international expositions. And particularly significant was 1867 Paris Exposition, because this opened up a lot of doors from international travelers who were coming. So what would happen? Well, what happens with any kind of a commercial endeavor, which the expositions were, when you're going, you market to the people that are coming to see you. If you have international travelers, why not create dolls that would be wearing the costumes from the international travel? So we have the fabulous Asian doll with her lightly tinted complexion, with fabulous details of her coif and of her costume, and incredible boots on her for the bound feet. And then we have the Turkish traveler who was coming, who were very, very big travelers to these world exhibitions, and let's try to make something to appeal to them. And let's turn around and show the costume from the back as well. Now, we also have dolls that represent various avocations. For example, the dolls wearing their traditional folklore costumes were very popular, and in particular those from Normandy who came to Paris, many of the young women, and served as nannies in the Paris homes, and very often they were sold as this example, carrying her own little all-bisque baby. We have different type of bodies that are represented. We have all wooden bodies. We have bodies that have only the wooden arms, such as this example, early example by Bru, that has his classic wooden arms, but the body is kid, a Bru kid with wooden arms, and the very classic face that was a precursor to his deposed smiling model with a much more dramatic smiling expression. All wooden articulated bodies, absolute works of art. I think some of you have heard me say before that I knew a collector once who had collected poupées with rare bodies, and she never displayed them with a costume. She thought the bodies were works of art in themselves and a form of sculpture, and that's how she displayed them, which was also kind of great because the costumes were preserved beautifully in archival papers. We have different models that are being made, such as this one with the flat cut neck socket, all sorts of styles and inventions and methods. The International Exposition brought this out in the doll makers. They would try different things that would make them want to make them to be chosen to show their wares at the expositions, and that made them famous and created their market. And again, always extraordinary costumes. Look at this girl. She is in the blue checkered with all of her accessories. She's absolutely extraordinary. More soutache. We have wonderful early costumes. This little sweetheart, the little ones don't show up very often, but this is a little tiny one, and she is so very precious. Well, that's an example of all of the wonderful poupées at The Journey Continues. And I do want to show you one more, because we skip ahead to the 1900s. We skip ahead almost 40 years, and let me show you this. Now, I guess you can tell simply from the way she's posed that she is not a lady of the 1860s or 70s. She's definitely a very modern woman of the 19 teens into the 1920s. various doll makers were creating dolls like this, and they were more like fashion expressions than they actually were dolls. They were wearing very current fashions. Lafite Desiree was very famous for this. This one is a larger example, and she is so absolutely extraordinary. If you can see the way her body is posed, she is totally original. She has a little wax ding on her nose, and other than that, she's just absolutely perfect. Now, please pay attention to details of her costume. She has a sequin beading on the front of her costume that is in the shape of flowers, which you might not notice to begin with. She has these long mohair locks of hair, and then her cap, which has painted designs on it, these lavish feathers, and the cap is matching the fabric of the back of her dress. It's matching that kind of a tinselly fabric, very, very different. Rhinestone bracelet, rhinestone necklace, and rhinestone other details on her. Right here, the sash on her, below her blouse. Now watch, I'm going to turn her around. Look at that cape. That is unbelievable. The same fabric with hand-drawn designs on it, and then these tassels hanging down from it from all over. So very, very stylish lady of the 1920s. So we skipped from 1860s to 1920s, but the fashion doll continued to be very important in France.